Hello everyone, I'm Jamila Musayeva, an international etiquette consultant, author of etiquette books and pre-recorded online etiquette courses. In today's video that I'm recording on my iPhone, which is something I'm experimenting with, all of my videos are usually done with a friend of mine, a professional videographer that we shoot professionally and edit professionally, but today and for the last couple of weeks I have been experimenting with shooting some videos on the go like that whenever I feel like talking about something. So let's see if you like this kind of videos. Do let me know in the comment section below if you enjoy them, so I keep on shooting videos in the same format. So today's video I actually wanted to talk about something that I've been getting questions about this video, or to do a video on this, and simultaneously I've been getting this not insights I would say, but this kind of a deeper thoughts about what are some things I used to believe that were true in my 20s that I no longer do. And it's part of a growing process, but I still wish I knew them when I was 20. So now I'm in my 30s, and as my birthday is approaching, which is happening very soon, today is July 17th and my birthday is on July 19th, I'm turning 34 years old. And when I'm looking back at my life in my 20s, which I loved, I had a great time in my 20s, but I wouldn't want to go back those years. Except maybe I would say I'm nostalgic about my college years. I really loved my time in college, and it was free. It was I was an adult, but not really a full adult. I didn't have responsibilities, real ones. I didn't have kids to take care of, so I was living on my own, but doing everything for myself. I didn't have to think about anyone else, which is not what happens when you have a family and you have kids, and you mature much faster in that phase of life. But I do think that I am much stronger now, mentally, physically, emotionally, and this is something that happens with a lot of work on myself, through books, through podcasts, through listening to people, through surrounding myself with the right people, through the intention of becoming better, through the intention of willing to learn and grow, albeit through some difficulties and pressure and a lot of discomfort. But let's talk about 7 things that I now see differently than I used to when I was in my 20s. The very first thing I want to say is that life is not black and white. I think when we are very young, we're very naive and we think there's right things and wrong things, and we divide everything into good and bad, and we don't see a lot of gray area, which is what was true for me. I grew up in a very traditional family household. My parents, had very strict morals, I think, and which was great because they paved the right path for me, and they instilled the very right compass in me that brought me, made me a conscious young adult, and I was able to make the choices depending on those moral values. But I think I was so strict with myself as well as with others. I judged not only myself, but I judge not only others, but I also judge myself. I think when you're a judgmental person, you're not only harsh on yourself, but you're harsh on other people, and you don't give them the merit of doubt, or you don't give them the merit of what is beyond what I'm seeing. I was very, very strict, but in college I got to make friends from different realms of life, and I got to understand them better as people. And even if I judged them at first sight, I got to know them better and understood they were amazing people, and I shouldn't be judging the book by its cover. And in my lifetime, I think I've learned to realize that I read this quote somewhere that a person who has a cigarette in their hand might have a better heart than the one that is holding a religious textbook. And I think we're so made to believe that good people are only this and bad people are only that we have this black and white vision of life. But life is so much more than black and white. There's so much of grayness in it. And there was a beautiful quote, I think it was by Omar Khayyam, or I might be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was like somewhere between the good and bad, I'll meet you somewhere in a halfway. I'll write the right quote there, but it was something about somewhere between goodness and badness. I will meet you somewhere in between. And so growing up, I realized that I should give more people chances in terms of getting to know them, and not judging them by their cover. And as I became less judgmental, I became more accepting of myself and of others around me. and there's so much liberation and so much joy in being able to accept yourself as you are, as well as give that acceptance to others. I also started noticing that the people that judge the most are the ones that can't live in acceptance with themselves. So this is something that I've learned in my, I think, 30s, late 20s already, or I think I was able to see life better. The second lesson I learned is that no one is coming to discover you. No one is coming to give you 100 opportunities and give you the life you want. You have to discover yourself. You know, before going on social media, I always waited for someone to almost come and save me, or come and discover me, or, you know, make me a great actress, give me a great role in the film, or find out about me. And now having social media, having these tools to let the world know about ourselves, we shouldn't be waiting for anyone to discover us. It's not, you know, back in the 80s or 90s, you had to be scouted, you had to be found out by someone. You now can let the world know about yourself. You first have to discover yourself and show the world who you are, and then let the other magic happen. You know, bigger productions or bigger people, so to speak, find you out and give you opportunities. But even if they don't, you can also create your own opportunities. You know, when you look at Oprah Winfrey, she paved her way to where she is now. She wasn't handed all these opportunities. She made herself a name, and now opportunities come to her, and she's able now to hand it to other people. So that's something that I realized, you know, later in my 20s when I launched my social media, and I was like, let me tell the world about myself, and maybe I will then be more visible and discoverable for people that, you know, I was craving to discover me. But now I don't even wait for that. I think I want to create my own opportunities, and that's what YouTube has allowed me to do. And thank you for supporting me on my YouTube channel and helping me grow the channel. The third thing I've learned is that, also related to that, is that you are the captain of your own life. And it's generic, it's a cliche saying, but I used to think, you know, some things are written, you know, like whatever it is gonna happen. Of course, there are trajectories of life that maybe are written there, but it's really a lot of different variations of your life, and it's what you choose to do with yourself is what brings you to the trajectory that you are in. So, you know, if you constantly make the wrong choices, you can't blame life for, you know, putting you in a situation that you are. Just to give you an example, if you eat sweets every day, if you don't watch what you're eating and your body starts showing those signs, you can't blame your body for that. It's your choices that show up in your body. It's your choices day in and day out that shape your life. So you really have to make sure that you change your mindset from it's written to I can help write it. I can be the co-author. I can make the right choices that bring me to where I am. And there's so much of a free will that was given to us by God that it's up to us to write our own fate. I think that your birth date and your death date is pre-written. Nothing can be done about it. It's predestined, it's written, but the rest is up to your free will, because God has created us with free will, unlike other creatures, and we get to execute this free will every day. And what you put the free will into is what the results you're going to get. Another thing that I have also learned that I think goes well or ties well into that is that sometimes we just wait for people to change, and we think that maybe they'll change, that will change my life, or my life depends on the other person. If this person changes, then my life will change. And no one ever changes until they want to change. I realized that people can change given that they want to change. Just because you want them to change, they will never change. So living your life waiting for the person to change is a waste of life. If you see that the person is striving to change, they're doing something about it, you can encourage them in that journey to take the action to change, and you could be there for them in the process. But if you're just waiting out for that one day to happen when they're completely different than they used to, that day might never come. So people only change if they want to. And there was a beautiful, I think, Gandhi quote that, change starts from you. If you want to change the world, start with you. I might be wrong, but I think it was his quote. And you can't change the world, truly. You can change a group of people, you can change a community, and that's already a huge change. But any change that needs to happen has to happen from within first. And you can influence, you can try your best, but you can't expect that people will change upon your will. I'm going to take a look at other notes that I wrote. Another thing that I have learned in life and through my own experience is that even if something is not happening right now, just when you want it to happen, it doesn't mean it will never happen with you. And I'm talking about achievements, I'm talking about love life, I'm talking about miracles in life, opportunities in life, anything, just because you're not, for example, right now in love, or right now in a relationship, right now you have kids, or right now you don't have, you are not able to travel, it doesn't mean that this is forever. It doesn't mean it's never gonna happen. And maybe the love that's waiting for you, the family that you're going to have, is going to happen in the next year, or 5 or 10, but it's going to be so much better than you could have ever imagined. The experiences I've had in the past year, where I wanted work-wise something to happen immediately right now, I would go on a trip, come back not having the result I wanted, and pretty devastated, down that it's not what I wanted, it didn't go as I intended. And then within a couple of weeks, I would get a call, or I would get an email saying we want this and that and this and that. And then what I ended up getting was so much better than what I initially wanted when I was going there. And so this has really changed my mindset about everything, that if it's not happening right the moment I want it, it means something better is expecting me. And I always think that something better is there. I didn't used to think this way at all. I used to get upset, devastated, down, but having these few experiences in the past few years, I realized that, leave it to and do your work hard, show up, but then trust that there's a better something waiting for you. And just because it's taking time, it doesn't mean it's happening. It means that it's building something very beautiful for you. Another thing that I wrote in my notes is that also maybe tied to this could be that you only really grow, you only really become stronger emotionally, mentally, physically if you're pressured to do it, if you are, head on head with hardships. No one that I've seen grows in comfort. You can blossom in ways when the environment is right and you're nurtured and loved, obviously, that happens. But there has to be a mix of hardships in a form of discipline, in a form of maybe some people pushing you around, pressuring you. So a little bit of that is really healthy. I know we tend to think that we have to, always be loved and supported. That's absolutely right. It has to be there. But then there should be some kind of a pressure in a form of, discipline when you have to work even when you don't want to, or you are challenged with people that want more from you, demand more from you. Maybe it could be your teacher, your parent, that is pushing you to excel all the time. I know this on my own personal experience. I didn't have this. I think I was very ambitious, but I didn't have this, this fire in me. Maybe I would be always the one that would go with the flow. But in the last few years of my life, I've realized that I have to take charge, that I have to ignite and let that fire burn from the inside to do the things I want to do. It doesn't come easy. You're always, knock on head. You get this knock on head from time to time. But I think in the end, it builds a character that is necessary for me to manage what I want to manage and down the line in 5 to 10 years. So the character that is built up through those hardships is the character that's needed for this kind of a title, a job, or opportunity. And there is this beautiful saying in Islam, with hardships comes ease. And it's very, very true. It is with hardship that comes ease. It's the fruits that grow, in this harsh natural conditions that are usually the tastiest, not the ones that are grown, super protected. So I do believe now, and I see now, there is so much blessing in every hardship that you get. Sometimes you can't rationalize it. Sometimes the hardship is in a form of a loss, and God forbid, I would never, don't even want to think about that. But I try to think of ways that life is trying to teach us through things. It's about the mindset, a lot of it. And the last 2 points is that the two most powerful emotions are hope and faith. Even if you lose everything else, all your other emotions, if you could only stick to two, don't cling on joy or happiness, cling on hope and faith. I think these are the feelings, or these are the emotions that will be there for you, and that will help you get out of the darkest darkness ever. Whatever you feel, whatever anger, sadness, whatever negative emotion you feel, don't lose your hope and your faith that something better is going to happen, that there is another chance, that there is another way of doing things or living things. I think perhaps the lowest of them all is not this feeling of sadness or anger, it's the feeling of hopelessness and loss of faith. Is when you will never be able to rise when you don't have those emotions. We all go through ups and downs, and that's part of life, that's part of nature's cycle. Trees shed leaves and then they grow leaves. It's cyclical, and just like our life is. But I think the tree never loses hope or faith that those leaves are going to grow back. And I think that's what we have to understand, that losing those two emotions can be the end of it. And whatever you cultivate in you, make sure that you cultivate a strong feeling of hopefulness and faith. Either train that mindset, or if you are a believer in higher power, in God, in Allah, then make sure that you practice that faith every single day. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm Muslim, and I strongly believe in God, and I have a very personal relationship with God. I love to call myself a spiritualistic Muslim, not a ritualistic. You might not necessarily see me perhaps as a traditional Muslim, but I am a very strong believer, and I always start my morning and end my night with a prayer. So I'm a strong believer, and I always have a lot of hope and a lot of faith. And the last bit I want to leave you with, and this is something I practice on in my daily life, and I try to showcase on my Instagram, where I share more of my daily life, is that it's never too late for anything. And I used to also think that, I never did ballet when I was little, so it's too late for me to do ballet. I've never, practiced singing, so it's too late for me to start singing. Up until I was 25, I didn't know how to bike. I learned how to bike after I had my daughter. And I realized that when she grows up and she starts biking, I have to be the mother that also bikes. And I remember when I was studying in Belgium in this little town called Bruges, everyone would go around that little town in bicycles. I was the only one who couldn't ride a bicycle, and I had to walk from university to my dorm room for 25 minutes, and the others just biked in 5 to 10 minutes. And so I remember I told myself that I'm going to learn to bike. So I did it in my late 20s. I learned how to ski in my late 20s. I never was a skier, didn't grow up skiing. I started singing now in my 34, or like slightly a little bit before. I did some classes, but then I stopped. I was preparing a song for my daughter's birthday, and I did some few singing classes, but then I stopped, and now this year I resumed singing, and it brings so much joy to me. I obviously am not going to be a professional singer, but I want to become better at it, and I want to to show myself that I can do it at this age as well. You know, maybe next thing that I'm going to start learning is maybe like competitive Latino dancing, whatever. I always challenge myself, and I always want to prove to myself that it's never too late to do anything. And if I can do it, anyone can do it. And I'm also using other people that are older than me, that have started their careers in a later age, or have started, you know, tangoing when they were 50. I use these people as a source of inspiration for me, and a proof that as long as you have the desire, as long as you have the wish for it, you can do it at any age. You know, we always find excuses in the form of, I didn't grow up in a family that did that, I didn't grow up in a family that had money for that, I am right now a student, I don't have money for that. As long as you have the wish and desire for it, there are so many free resources online for you to try to learn anything, from languages, mathematics, history, art, painting, you know, playing piano. You have a lot of tutorials on YouTube how to play piano, singing. It really just nowadays is more about your desire and wish. I understand if people said that back in the 80s or 90s, where you didn't have access to all those free resources. But in a world that we live in right now, it's really just an excuse. You can work out from your home. You don't have to buy any specific expensive equipment. You can use heavy water bottles. Anything is doable as long as you have your desire and wish for it. And that is not to say that money doesn't help. Of course it does. It makes things easier because you can get a trainer, because you can get a tutor, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee that the results of a person who has a trainer but doesn't have the desire or the discipline is going to be better than the person who didn't have a trainer but had the discipline. I assure you, I have seen so many people in the gym with a trainer, with the right, you know, outfit, with the most exquisite equipment they're working with. Their fitness level is not even close to someone who has a discipline and works at home. Really, a lot of life, I guess, achievements are done through discipline. Very few people are super gifted and talented geniuses in what they do, and these are very few lucky people, or maybe in some cases it could be a curse and a blessing. You know, the genius people are usually the ones that, you know, struggle a lot with other parts of life. So I would say that, you know, that's maybe 1%. There are others that grew up in a family that gave them everything, and maybe they were lucky enough to, you know, to be able to have opportunities to do that. Okay, we'll say there are a few of those as well. But there's so many self-made people that rose from the bottom and made their way up, and now what you see them successful, it's not because, you know, they had their matcha in the morning or they went to Pilates class. It's because they were super disciplined and worked hard when others were not. I came around this quote in one of the videos on YouTube I was watching, and the man said a really interesting quote. He said something around the line of thought was that if you do not, in a way, like if you're not harsh with yourself, life will be harsh with you. And I remember that like quote really stuck in my head, and I could think of all the ways that people that are super disciplined, that would wake up early in the morning to do their reading, then to work out, you know, then take care of their household. I don't know. They worked for many hours. They were, you know, very disciplined, and they had a, you know, very clear goal in their life. That were very harsh with themselves, are the ones that were able to build a beautiful life. So if you're someone who's always leisurely with your time, you don't work out, don't take care of yourself, you're just this, you know, couch potato, you can't expect life to be good to you, you know? It will be harsh for you. So the harsher you are on you, the easier the life is for you. Because you have this willpower, you grow this strength, inner strength, mental, emotional, physical strength that is needed to face life. I hope that these thoughts inspire you, and I hope that you find something useful in this video. Again, this is like an impromptu video. I had my cup of coffee. This is, by the way, my favorite mug from Tiffany that was gifted to me on my birthday that matches my dress today. But I really wanted to have this heart-to-heart, and in any way, if I can, inspire you and help you with the lessons that I have learned. I know that in life a lot of lessons have to be learned on your own, otherwise you don't really understand it until you experience that and you see why this was said. But there's so much wisdom already written before us in religious textbooks, in literature, in self-help books, and philosophies, that if you just read a lot, if you just make sure that you process what you've read, you can extract so much knowledge without having to experience what needs to be experienced in order for the lesson to be learned. So thank you again, and I hope to see you in my next video. For now, take care. Bye.